Thank you very much, Jackie, for that introduction. As Jackie said, my name is Jess Paul, and I'm the owner of Blossom Communications here in Regina. First of all, I want to thank WESC for the invitation to deliver this session. This is my very first webinar, so I'm a little anxious, but I think we've got all the technological things sorted out, so it's great to get going. So this session is your brand more than just a logo. I also wanted to thank all of you for tuning in today and participating. We could really spend a whole day talking about brand or more, but we've got about an hour. So my hope is that you will walk away from today's presentation with something tangible that you can do for your business and your brand, either tomorrow or today or in the next few months, or something more long-term in the next year. First of all, I'd like to find a little bit more about those of you who are tuned in. I think we've got about just over a dozen of us right now. So if you want to just take an opportunity to type into the text box, I can see all of your names, but maybe tell me where you're from, the name of your business, and potentially anything that you want to take away from today's session. I can't promise we'll get to all of it. We do have a set curriculum laid out for us, or I have one, but I would like to be able to answer some of your questions along the way. So while you guys are busy typing into the text box, I'll tell you a little bit about myself before we begin. I've owned Blossom Communications, as I said, for the last 4 years. I work as a communications and marketing consultant to help businesses and organizations reach their marketing and communications goals. So this is my 4th year of business with Blossom. I've been a member of WESC for the last 4 years as well. They helped me get my start. My background is about 20 years in the communications and marketing sectors. I have worked in journalism. I spent about a lot of time writing there. I spent about 10 years in political communications, issues management, brand development for a political party, website work, social media, publication development, pretty much everything along the spectrum. And I also worked in an advertising agency as an account rep. And so I worked with a lot of different size businesses, nonprofits, associations to really work on their brand, help them develop brands or rebrand, and sort of achieve their goals. So we've got people here from all over the province, which is really nice to see. Tanya from Saskatoon is in the early stages of developing her business plan. We've got Kayla from North Portal from Daybreak Mill. We're featuring you in a magazine that we're working on right now. It's with my business. Moose Jaw, we have a massage therapist. We have a realtor. We have another massage. We have a few massage therapists. Cabinet supply company in the startup phase. I guess you guys can see all of these, but this is great. So really nice to see a nice variety of businesses, and I'm glad that you took the opportunity to tune in today. So we're here to talk about brand. And what is a brand? Well, we could say the obvious. A brand is an identifying mark that is burned into livestock. That's your very basic definition. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But we could also say that a brand is a type of product manufactured by a particular company under a particular name. So let's pick Diet Coke, for example. There's a brand. It comes with its own set of emotions and feelings and experience, which is something that we're going to talk a lot about today, is experience, because really at the end of the day, that's what your brand is. And although, as the presentation's title says, you know, it's more than just your logo, we've got a lot on the screen right now, your logo still plays a significant part of your brand because it's a visual identifier of your brand, and it's something that helps you or helps people make an emotional connection with your brand. So I just want to point out a couple on this very busy screen right now, and just to see sort of, okay, we'll talk about one of them. For example, on the left-hand side, we've got Target. Target was once known as this great American shopping place that people wanted to go for the quality of the merchandise, the shopping experience, the prices are pretty good, and that's what it was known for. And then they moved north of the border into Canada. They opened all of these stores, and unfortunately, they couldn't deliver. There wasn't enough stock on the shelves. The employees didn't know what they were doing. They just didn't do enough preparation. So now, for me, Target is about missing the mark, which isn't what their name is about at all, but that's what that that logo evokes for me now. Another example, if we go to the right-hand side of the screen, we've got VW over there. VW is a very reputable car manufacturer from Germany. You know, not luxury cars, but very well made. But in the last couple of years, with the emissions scandal that happened, their brand has been very tarnished by that, because that's what I think when I see that now. So that's just to give you an idea of that your logo is part of your brand, but it's not everything. So there's probably others on the screen now that you could get some type of emotional reaction out of, but we're not going to go through all of them, or we'd be here all day. So I'd like to take a moment to define brand, and I'd also like to find out what you guys think. You guys are the ones who are attending today, so I really want to structure and tailor this towards those of you who are watching right now. So if you can take a moment in the text box there, even if it's just a couple of words, I would like you to tell me what you think brand means. Just on the very, your experience in the world with your business so far, or just in the world in general. What do you think brand is? And I'm going to give you a couple moments there to, someone's typing a message. That's awesome. So you can just take, it can be a couple words. It's not a test. So I'm just curious as to what perceptions about brand are that are out there right now, because I want to make sure that through the course of the next 50 minutes that we're speaking the same language. So we want to refine what exactly a brand is. So Yvonne says a visual identity. That's a good one, visual identity. So your logo, how you look and how you appear to the world. Your look says somebody else. When I hear brand, I always think of a giant organization. Okay, so a company, a big brand. So like Estee Lauder or something like that is definitely a large company with a big brand presence. They got a lot of money to make their brand. We don't all have millions of dollars, unfortunately. Okay, we've got a couple more coming in. I think it is what we know of a company, who they are and what they do. That's great. There's a couple more coming in. These are some really good definitions, and none of them are right or wrong, because brand can be defined in a lot of different ways. Color and logo, identity and reputation. Awesome. Those are some great ways to look at brands. So I want to dive a bit into the world of business and marketing for a bit, to look at some of the definitions that are out there that we can associate with brands. So this is from the here we have Tanya. Easily identify how others recognize, understand what or who you are and what you do. That's really good as well. So this comes from the Business Dictionary. So a unique design, sign, symbol, words, or a combination of those employed in creating an image that identifies a product and differentiates it from its competitors. So I like this definition because it's not just about the visual. It also talks about words, which is important. Maybe it's your tagline, maybe it's the words, how you, the copy on your website. So that's one option. Over time, this image can be associated with a level of quality or credibility. You can pull a lot out of that visual identity, and it really helps. If consumers are busy this day. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place in our day, but it gives us something visual to latch onto, something that we know stands for similar values as we have, or something that we would prefer over something else. So we're talking a bit about values now. So I want you to think about your values in your business and the values that you want to be reflected in your brand, because really brand is about amplifying those values. And so, for example, I also teach yoga, and I don't call it yoga though, I'm a marketer, I call it restorative stretch. And I want my classes, when I teach yoga, to be as inclusive as possible. I've found in the past that some people have had bad experiences with yoga and they're turned off and they don't want to come. I want my clients to come back again and again. So in the language I use and the way that I teach my class, I provide lots of different options for people. I provide modifications. If people are running late and the door is closed, I always tell them to come in, or if they have to leave early, they can pick up their things and go. So just through the way I speak to them and the way I I promote my classes. It's all about that inclusive environment so that anybody can walk in and take the class. Other values, for example, maybe you're a large company and your values are on display all the time. A recent example, we have to talk about Donald Trump today because, well, it wouldn't be the world we're in today if we didn't. A New Balance CEO made a comment recently in support of Trump's stance on trade. And what happened? People who loved that brand but who were not Trump supporters took to social media and filmed videos of them burning their New Balance shoes. And so very quickly, that perception of that brand changed by a single statement. And we have a lot smaller businesses, so that may not happen to us, but once you get to that size, it can happen. So another definition here, this is from the Harvard Business Review. So brand is much more than a name or a logo. Brand is everything, and everything is brand. It sounds a bit Dr. Seuss-like, but it makes a really good point, because think about all that you do in a day as a business. You have all kinds of interactions with, let's say, customers or suppliers, employees, and you really have to embody that brand, and that has to flow outwards. And maybe you also have employees that deal with people. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but your employees are also part of your brand. And so this is another great one that I like. Simply put, your brand is the promise that you make to your client. It's something that you want your customers to experience every time that they interact with you, either your customers, your potential customers, anyone that you deal with that could talk about you, because essentially, like someone said earlier, your brand is really about reputation, about ensuring that you have a good reputation in the real world, in the online world. And it's about integrity, and it's about ensuring that your brand aligns with who you are and where you're going. It's also, as I said before, how your employees deliver an experience. So let's say you have staff and they're dealing with your customers. You can't be there to hold their hand all the time, but you want to make sure that they also are evoking that experience that you want customers to have. Your employees are what I'd call your brand ambassadors as well. They're out there, they're on the front lines dealing with people. I recently went to Starbucks and I was standing in line. I have an 8-year-old son, and the woman in front of me ordered a cascara latte. I'd never heard of a cascara latte, so well, what's that? And the barista heard me, and the barista said, oh, well, and she had some free samples, and she went on to explain that, the cascara latte is made of a specific part of the coffee fruit. I'm not getting this exactly right, but she had a great explanation for the flavor and how it was supposed to be, and I thought she was done, and then she said, oh, but if you ask me, it tastes like cough syrup. And I just almost, by just chewing gum, I probably would have spit it out, because I was so shocked that someone who's supposed to be that brand ambassador for this big company and selling these products and wanting to ensure an experience is telling me this. And my 8-year-old son says to me, Mom, who'd want a latte that tastes like cough syrup? So she had an opportunity to deliver on the brand promise and failed miserably. I'm still going to get coffee at Starbucks, but that's just an example of something that happened that could do that. So a few things to recap is that, a brand isn't just part of your business, it is your business. It's about experiences and not just your logos or taglines. Those are part of it again. And it can be, sometimes it's all the little things that you do consistently over time that speak a lot louder than, let's say, an ad that you've placed somewhere. I used to go to a hair salon for about 14 years before they closed, and whenever I would call, they would always answer and say, it's a great day at so-and-so salon, and that was consistent all the time. Their voicemail answered the same way. These are different ways that I experienced their brand. They were about being a comfortable place where you were welcome, you could bring your kids, they were well looked after, and this was just another extension of the personality of their brand. So everything from how you answer the phone can be brand. So really for me, branding is about an emotional experience. And as I said before, it's experienced every time a potential client or a current customer interacts with you, whether you can be there or not. And so I want you to think about in your realm and the things that you do. We have a cabinet supply company in the startup phase. So maybe think about the people that you deal with through your day. So or how they would experience your brand. Are they calling into a 1-800 number? Do they order through your website? Do you have a social media channel? We've also got a few massage therapists here as well. So, you know, maybe they are calling you on the phone. They're reading copy on your website. If you sell things, maybe they're shopping in your store. They could be getting emails from you, talking to your employees. These are all different experiences. Maybe they're interacting with you on your Facebook page. Or seeing your branded vehicle out on the road. That's even an experience of your brand. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But so for me, a true brand, you know, it's the promise you of the experience you communicate to the market, but it's also, you know, how others experience and perceive your business. And some of you hit on that right away. It's that reputation. So before we dig into some ways to develop your brand, I just want to do a little exercise here, show you a couple of videos, and I may require your participation. So I'm going to show you a couple of logos, which isn't a brand, it's part of the brand. And what I'd like you to do is just take a minute to type into the text box, even just one word that comes to mind when you see this brand. So we're going to start here. It's up there on the top. United Airlines. I'm just going to give you a moment here. Don't be shy, just type away. And I want to get your thoughts on United Airlines. Nobody's typing in an answer yet. Well, I can tell you that United Airlines, I see that. Oh, someone's typing now. It's an experience I don't want to have. But here we go. Yikes, pass. Okay, LOL, someone's laughing out loud. But really, I mean, you see that now based on the video I'm going to show you. No thanks, not WestJet. Oh, good, we're going to talk about them next. So I want to show you a video. I'm not showing you the whole thing because it's really disturbing. You've probably all seen it already. But this is about how brand extends beyond logo on the screen, beyond your website. It is about experience. And this poor gentleman's experience, well, we'll just let this play. And again, I won't play it all, but let's see if we can get this going. Here we go. Oh, wait, on the wrong one. Hold on. We're going to go back. My apologies. And we're going to play. There we go. We want to play this one first. Okay. So.
Come on. Come on.
Can't the pilots drive to Youre? Can't they rent a car for the pilots and have them drive?
All right, so we're going to stop it there. Not the most pleasant experience, but this is what happened to United Airlines earlier this year. I'm sure many of you may have seen this if you haven't. And the way that United Airlines responded to this as well wasn't very good. So we're not going to stay on this for long, but I just wanted to show you how, you know, you see things now, and the experience or things that you've seen can inform that perception that you have of a brand or your reputation. So we're going to move on to the next one. This is for WestJet. So I'd like you to do the same thing. Just type a word or a phrase into the text box, what this evokes for you when you see this, or if you've experienced the brand. What does this brand say to you? We've got a few people typing some things right now. We've got lots of people typing. This is good. Thank you for participating. It makes it all the better. Caring, reliable, helpful, and care. Okay, so this is great. Caring is the word that I wanted to see, and that came up right away. Helpful, amazing company, people-oriented. Okay, so this isn't by accident that you think this. WestJet is one of my favorite examples of an incredible brand. And just because you may not be as big as WestJet doesn't mean there aren't things that you can't take away from WestJet. So when I was doing my research for this presentation, I was doing some look on WestJet's website, because for me, the same word came up. It was they care about me. And so I found this little hidden gem on their website, and I just want to read this to you because it's a statement about their values. You may never have read this, you may never see this, most people may not see this, but this is about their values, and I'm just going to read it to you, and then we're going to talk about how it influences their brand, or it may become very clear to you how it influences their brand. So Very first thing, we care to get you there. Book confidently with WestJet. As WestJet owners, we want to ensure that our guests have a stress-free travel experience. When the thousands of people who care for you on the ground and in the air also own the airline, it makes a tangible difference in the way you are treated. We have a stake in your satisfaction. It's why we put a welcome mat at every jet door. It's why we call you a guest and care enough to help you feel like a guest. It's why we reward you with WestJet dollars you can actually use in a rewards program you can actually understand. It's why we are ready to earn your business one flight at a time. It's why we are an airline you can trust. It's not business as usual. It's WestJet. So that is their values. And as I said, this lives on their website somewhere where most people won't even read it. But they really embody these values in everything they do. I don't know if you've flown WestJet, but from the way they call you to the gate, they're always joking. They're singing songs. They're having fun. You want to be on that flight. If you're flying Air Canada, you're like, oh, can I go over there? You know, to their safety demonstrations. The pilot makes jokes. They're very responsive on social media, and even to their charitable actions. They really demonstrate through everything that they do that they care. I was in an airport once, and I couldn't find information about my flight, or something had happened, and so I went on Twitter and said, at WestJet, here's what's happened, I need some help, and in 10 minutes I had a direct message, and someone was there to help me out. Again, they cared about me, so that's great that that came up. I just want to play another video for you in sharp contrast to the one we watched. We're going to watch the whole thing because I really like what WestJet has done through these videos. This one came out just before Father's Day. You may need a tissue as you watch, but we're just going to watch this, and then we're going to go on and dig into some of the things that you can do for your brand. So we'll start this up. Here we go.
Hi, Mr. Hunt. I'm Christina. I'm with WestJet. We know Father's Day is approaching, so we got you a little surprise.
To say it was the hardest day of our lives is an understatement. That night, I go to the gym, and the phone rings, and it's Ned and says, you know, you got to come home. Dr. Bretnow's on his way here. I meet the doctor actually in the driveway, and I said, you know, this can't be good. He says, no, Darren's got leukemia.
We're told, pack your bags, and I looked at my doctor and I said, okay, we'll be there tomorrow. He says, you have to leave right now.
We managed to get a place here at Ronald McDonald House. Financially, without this, as a family, we could never afford to be here. It's a blessing. It really is. I coach the Clarenville Pee Wee minor hockey team. I've been coaching them now for a number of years. For us, hockey has been everything because Darren loves hockey. The people that we involve ourselves with in hockey are like family. You know, since November, Darian, myself, we haven't been on the ice. We haven't been around the kids playing hockey. Miss that. Big deal.
Immediately, Troy called me. He was telling me in tears that his son had just been diagnosed with leukemia. But he still made time to call me to make sure that I had practice covered. Darian needed a stem cell transplant. Troy was a match. He is the donor for Darian. There's definitely a void with him not being here. They're certainly missing him. They're missing Darian.
It's been quite a while since we've seen our daughter.
We kind of decided that we would try to keep things as normal as possible for her, keeping her around her friends.
It's been 2 months since I've seen my family. It gets really lonely.
If I had one wish, it would be that we could bring our family together.
I know we brought you in here today to discuss some special plans that we want to do for Troy and Darian when they return home, but that's not exactly true. Thanks to WestJet, we're leaving today to go visit Darian and Troy. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Ronald McDonald House.
We're going to go in, we're going to be really quiet, okay?
Since coming here on the 28th, I haven't seen my daughter. You know, my daughter is my princess. I love my little girl. I miss her so much.
Hi, Mr. Hunt. I'm Christina. I'm with WestJet. We know Father's Day is approaching, so we got you a little surprise. Troy is such a good dad and a fabulous coach, and I just wanted to give him something just to show how much he's appreciated by everybody.
When he woke up this morning, it was a bit of a rough morning. And when he saw his friends, he went from not feeling great to probably one of the best days that he had since he's been here. It was amazing just watching him interact and smile and be a kid.
When he saw his friends, I saw the light in his eyes that's usually there. He needed it. I'll never forget this.
You know, just watching him interact with his friends while sitting and having a meal, me sitting with people that I know having a meal, it just felt good to be normal again.
Wow. Now, the first time I watched that, I needed Kleenex. I needed a tissue. But as I said before, WestJet doesn't need to say, oh yeah, definitely need a tissue, someone says over at West. But, you know, they don't need to say, you know, WestJet, our tagline, their tagline isn't we care, because they just show you through everything that they do. So I just wanted to use that as an example to show that, you know, you don't necessarily have to say your values, but they have to be demonstrated through the experience that you provide, you know, your clients, your customers, whoever you interact with. So we're going to leave that now. And this is a question I get a lot from people. Well, where do I begin? Because there's so many things that you can do. It can be really daunting because there are a lot of ways that people can experience your brand. I mean, we've got your logo, we've got a website, we've got Facebook, we've got other social media channels, print collateral, your advertising. Maybe you have a 1-800 number, or you're at the door. Maybe you blog on Tumblr, who knows? But there's all these different ways that, especially this day and age, where people can experience your brand, and a lot of them are online. So we're going to talk about this, but I just want to share one quote with you before we dive in again, from Greg Lederman. He's the founder of Brand Integrity Inc., and he says that a well-executed brand strategy is the single most important differentiator between a good company and a great company. So with a little bit of effort, you can really make your brand shine. And I want you to remember, and we'll talk about this again later, that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not going to do all of these things next week, and it can be very overwhelming, and especially as a business owner. But just remember that nobody knows what's up inside your head for your brand, and that you can roll things out at your own pace, and that's important to remember. Yes, there are specific things that you want to focus on first. Some things have to come before other things, but yeah, just keep that in mind as we go through this, that I'm not saying go do all of this tomorrow. So I want to talk a bit about creating that brand and developing your brand. Now, some of you may have bought businesses that have existed before. Maybe you work for an organization that's been around for a long time. Maybe you're brand new. If you're a brand new business, this may not apply to you as much, but it's still a good lesson that you can employ later on in the life of your business. But essentially, a good thing to do at the beginning before you really start in earnest is what I call a brand audit. And you really want to learn about as much as your business, anything that already exists as possible. So maybe you don't have an online presence yet, but people have been interacting with your business for a while. I have a friend who has a business. He doesn't have a website yet, but he's getting comments through social media platforms. So it's basically about doing a bit of research, finding out, you know, is there stuff out there about your brand online that maybe you didn't know about? It's about listening. And is there an online reputation you don't know about, for example? There are a lot of sites out there. Yelp is an example, and it's a site, it's a business listing where people can find information about businesses and review them, and it's basically curated from the internet. So you might not even create your business profile. It may already exist there. I have a client who recently discovered they had a business profile on Yelp, and everything looked pretty good. The information was right, the website was right, phone number, hours of operation. But then they found that there was only one comment about their business on Yelp. And it was an awful comment. It was a client that there had been some sort of dispute with, and the owner had never seen this comment. So it's almost like a discovery process. So it allows you to find things that maybe you didn't know existed online. It gives you a checklist of things that maybe you want to deal with. Maybe there's another business that has your name that you didn't know existed, just things like that. So really, Google is a wonderful place to start. It's free. You can access it from your phone or any laptop or wherever you are. And it's just a great way to search for your business and find things online. You know, what have clients said of you, or are there reviews on Google about your company that you didn't know about? Because this is all about your online reputation. It's also a good idea to take stock of all the different places where you live online. So maybe there's reviews on Google, maybe you have a Facebook, maybe Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest. I mean, the list goes on and on. You probably don't have all of those, but it's good to have sort of a place where you have all of that stuff identified. It may not be a bad idea, too, to look at some of your competitors in the industry. Do they do things really well, or are there things that they do that you could do better with your brand? Or even look at, you know, businesses in your industry in a different city entirely. What are things that they do well that you think you could also bring to your brand? Another way to do some research ongoing about your company is, especially if they're in the media from time to time, is Google Alerts. This is a great free product provided by Google. They have a few of them. And it's google.com/alerts. And essentially you can go there and you can input, I usually put the business name in quotation marks. I have this set up for all of my clients. So for example, I work with the Regina Food Bank. Anytime there's a mention of the Regina Food Bank in the press or online, bing, I get an email from Google. And you can set up the frequency that you get this. You can also set up searches on social media monitoring platforms. So if you use TweetDeck or Hootsuite to schedule social media posts, you can also set up a search for your business. And then also, I mean, it depends on budget, but there's other listening platforms that monitor everywhere and basically send you a summary of all the places that your brand has been mentioned. Something like Meltwater, that's a company. But basically from this sort of initial research, you can make some decisions about what actions you need to take or maybe where you want to start. So even though the title of this presentation is more than just a logo, we are going to talk about logo. Someone earlier when we asked about brand said visual identifier, or the color scheme, or those types of things. So yes, this still plays a huge role in your brand, so I'd be remiss not to talk about it. It is the visual identifier of your business. So one of the things I hear a lot from people who are looking to start a business and get a logo is, oh, my sister-in-law can do that, or my best friend does that out of his basement. My dad's cousin's brother used to work in a print shop, and I think he can whip one up for me. So, or I can go online for $5 and get a logo. And I realize that budget is sometimes an issue, but I think it's really important. This is going to be the visual identifier that's associated with your business probably for a long time. You look at Wesk, they recently rebranded, but they had their first brand for, I believe, 23 years. So you're going to want something that you're proud of. So it's not a bad idea to make a small investment in a logo. Pay someone who's a professional to do this for you. And the reason I say that is because A, you'll get a really good product, but you'll also get the tools that you need as a business to move forward with your brand. Women Entrepreneurs sent out the one-pager to all of you before this started. It's just a list of what you should get from your graphic designer when you get a logo. But before you even get to that stage, you'll sit down with them. It's important that they know about your values of your business, what kind of emotions you want to evoke. Are there colors you like or dislike, logos that you think are beautiful and logos that you don't? Remember, this is your business, and you want your logo to speak for your business and to give that impression that you want. It's like when you put on a great black dress and you feel awesome, or whatever it might be. You get a new haircut. There's something about, or a fresh coat of paint on a wall. It's that fresh feeling. So you really want to ensure that you're working with someone that understands what you're looking for. So in the file that you got from Wesk, there's a whole list of file types that it's probably a good idea to get from your graphic designer. And they're for different purposes. So as you go out into the world, you're going to need logos that you can use on your website or on social media. Maybe you need a cover image for Facebook or your profile picture, or you know, you need files. You're getting something printed that's really huge, or you're getting shirts made. There's different file types for different applications. So I've included, I'm not going to go through the whole list. If you have questions, you can always send me an email after this, but that just gives you a good idea of some of the things that you should be asking for when you're getting a logo done. Other things that you might want to consider at the same time is, you know, getting an e-signature made, some business cards, letterhead, either printed or digital, like the handout that you got from me, that's on my digital letterhead. It's out of my stationery package. PowerPoint presentation template, if you're in that type of business. You're looking at mine right now. So there's a whole variety of things to consider because this is how your brand is going to go out into the world. So that's just wanted to touch upon that briefly. If anybody has any questions too at all, just feel free to type them into the text box, but we're going to move forward. And just to give you an idea of different iterations of logo, you know, we've got, this is mine, we've got it all in black. There's the full color with my tagline. There's different orientations, whether it's vertical or horizontal. There's the white on black, and some more different applications. There's just the icon that you could use for the top corner of your website, things like that. So these just give you tools so that you're not always having to go back to the graphic. Oh, they said this wouldn't work at the printer. Make sure you've got the tools you need so that you can put your best face forward when you're going out into the world. We're going to touch briefly upon website because people experience your brand online. Yes, you need one in this day and age if you don't have one or think about getting one. It's really important to keep things simple. In this day and age, people's attention span isn't very long. So, you know, you can start fairly basic and keep it really simple. It could be a one-page website, but as long as people can find, you know, who you are, what you do, how to contact you, where you're located, maybe links to your social media platforms, your hours of operation. That's what they want. I mean, I go somewhere, I look for information. I want to be able to dial a phone number from the website. We don't have a lot of attention span. So, you know, when you're starting out, it doesn't have to be complex. Just keep that in mind. You can always grow a website as you go forward with your business. So this is a small example of a client that I worked with. He's a mentalist. And they had this giant website that they'd had for years, and it was like an albatross around them. They were just, it was weighing them down. They couldn't update it anymore. So we decided to get rid of it completely, and we created just one page, a single page website. It's got his brand. It tells you what he does. It has a short message that they're building a more dangerous website, how to contact him, and then links to his social media profiles. That's all he needs. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but it's on brand, and it's way better to have something that's simple and effective and to the point than some giant website that doesn't work very well, that's not doing its job. So that's just a short example. Also, too, if you have a bigger website, let's say you do blogging, it's really important to drive traffic to your website. You want your website to be on everything you do. So, you know, if you're issuing a news release about opening your business, you know, that can live on your website. And then you can direct traffic from different channels, either from Facebook or from your LinkedIn page. You can drive all that to your website. That's going to help your website get better ratings on Google. And so basically anywhere you can put your website, you should. If you've got print advertising and your e-signature, you want to include that wherever possible. So in today's day and age, websites are a little bit different than they were when I started working with websites a few years ago, because we have all of these devices. We all have, I have a phone, you have iPads, you have tablets, all these types of things, and people are looking at websites in different ways. So it's really important that their experience is a good one. Some statistics, 51% of Canadians' time is spent online on a mobile device. So that means more than half their time is on mobile. This is from 2015, so it's probably more than that right now. We also spend more time online than anyone else in the world, almost 40 hours a month. So essentially, you want to make sure that when someone's coming to your website, that they are having the best experience possible. I'm sure you've been to those sites where you've got your phone, you pull up the website, and you're having to zoom in because you can't read the text or you can't click on the link, and it's a frustrating experience. You're just going to lose people. So you want to ensure that your website is what we call responsive. And what that means is that it responds to the type of device that's accessing it. So if you go to my website and you're on your laptop, it'll appear different than it does on an iPhone. It's going to automatically resize itself. It's just one website, but it's built to respond to those types of things. And, you know, if you don't have a website that people can view on mobile devices, you're virtually eliminating almost 50% of potential customers, because that's how many people are spending that time on a mobile device looking for information. So I've got a great little video just to really explain what responsive is. It's a company out of the US that makes websites. It's not a plug for them, but I just really like the story that they tell about responsive websites. The data is a bit out of date in terms of mobile users, but it's just a good visual to show you what I mean by responsive design. So we'll just watch this quickly.
So, right now you're probably wondering, what is the responsive design? Well, in today's world, internet is one of the most important forms of media, and the internet's mostly consumed using desktop computers, right? But wait, how about mobile devices, smartphones, and tablets? The share of internet usage on these devices is growing every day. In 2011, mobile browsing took a share of about 11%. Last year, it was near to 25%. And the prediction says that this year, it can actually overtake the traditional desktop browsing. So what do all these numbers mean to you? Well, it means that if you don't want to lose any potential clients, then you need a great-looking website, which is also optimized for mobile browsing. Because the problem of many current websites is that the user experience on mobile devices is, well, how do I put it? Terrible. And that's a mission for responsive design. Responsive websites respond to the screen size of the device you're viewing it on. So instead of creating different websites for different devices, your responsive website rearranges the elements to fit any screen. So you'll get more happy visitors, which also leads to more happy customers.
All right, more happy customers. So that was the extent of that. I hope that makes sense to you. I put a couple examples on the screen right now of responsive versus non-responsive websites. My website is a responsive, so blossomcom.ca. You could go there after and check it out on your laptop versus your mobile phone. There's a great website. Actually, I tried to pick out the worst one possible, CanadianTruckersAssociation.com, which you can check out a little later and see what I mean by it not being responsive. It has outdated software. So it is important that you have responsive. And another reason is because a couple of years ago, Google actually announced that it's going to start ranking websites based on whether or not they are responsive. So if I'm doing a search on my mobile device and I'm looking for a massage therapist in Saskatoon, it is going to give me the sites first that are responsive. And then the non-responsive sites will be further down in the listing. So you'll do yourself a favor right off the bat by looking at a responsive website. So there's a great test available online to find out. Maybe you already have a website. Just Google on Google, MobileFriendly Test. There's also the link here at the bottom of the page. But it'll essentially do a quick analysis of your website and let you know green check if it's mobile friendly, or you get the red if it's not. So in this case, text is small, which means you got to zoom in, all of those things. So that's just a great tool that you can use to find out if your online experience is a good one. So back to Google, we've talked a lot about how they have great tools. It's a great way to manage your reputation and your brand online. There's a few tools to help ensure that your customers can find you. And we're going to talk about those because it's really important that your basic information is online, it's up to date. You know, maybe you moved a couple of years ago, but Google still shows you at the old address. That could lead people to the wrong place and have frustrated customers. So two tools to look at. One is free, one is not. Google My Business and Google Adwords. Google My Business, you can essentially set up an account that allows you to claim your online listing, because Google has listings for businesses that are curated by bots, and they're just, you know, you do a search and it will come up on the right side with a map, and that's basically pulled from existing content on the internet. But you can actually claim that listing. There's a process you have to go through, but it allows you to be in charge of your Google listing. So you can add photos, you can encourage clients to leave you reviews, you can ensure that the information is up to date. So that's one great tool to look into. Maybe you don't have money to do a website right away. Do this first, so at least you've got some type of online presence. Google AdWords, this might be a little hard to see, but I just 2 screenshots. I did a search for Regina Florist on the one hand, on the left, and there's just a map that comes up and some businesses, and Wascana Flower Shop is a #1, there's a #2, but let's say I'm a florist and I'm not quite on that list at the top of the Google search. You can actually pay for Google AdWords, which basically will serve you ads like on the right. I looked for Regina Plumbers. There's 2 ads that popped up. Those are served based on search terms. So that's something you could look into if you're in a marketplace where there's a lot of competitors and you want to ensure that you're in front of people when they do a search. That's a way to get your brand out there. So we'll touch on social media briefly as well. If you want to take a moment and just let me know in the text box if you're on social media, that would be great. I have a couple of social media channels through my business. I'm on Facebook and I'm also on Twitter, and I have a personal LinkedIn channel, but I'm actually thinking of getting off of Twitter because for me, I just don't have value there, and it's not where my clients are. So I'm very quiet on Twitter right now. So social media is a great way to engage with your customers. You know, it's where people are at. It's where people are getting information. You can build a loyal following of brand ambassadors, but it's really important to remember that you don't have to be on all of them, okay? Like there's so many out there. You need to find where your audience is and where they want to experience you the most. You know, I know a lot of restaurants who are on Instagram because they're able to post short videos or photos of their food, and that's a great place. Whereas Facebook may be something better for you. So it's a decision you need to make, and you need to decide, do you have the time to make it happen? Because that's really the cost. The platforms are free, but if you have an inactive platform, for example, if you're not responding to comments, that may leave a bad brand impression. So pick one and do it really well. And once you've got that one solidified, then maybe think about expanding into another one. But just make sure that if you are on those channels, that you are responsive. You know, how you respond also reflects on your brand. How do you deal with negative comments? Sometimes you just need to delete them if they're profane or things like that. But you can really turn a customer around. Let's say they have a bad experience with your brand. You have a great opportunity. I have a friend who says things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And it's a great saying because this gives you an opportunity to regain a client or to win someone back. But you can do that quite well and effectively. So think about that with social media. It's also important to remember you're having that conversation. People want to talk to you, so to be engaging is a good thing. Also, to ensure that you're on brand. This is a Facebook page for a shade and shutter company, but from the profile picture, you really wouldn't know. This is the guy who owns the business, but I think it's really important that you have a nice branded platform. So for example, this is PCL Construction. It is very on brand. You know, you've got their logo as the image for their profile picture. So people are seeing that all the time. You might get sick of seeing your logo, but people need to see that to have it reinforce them. You have an opportunity with real estate at the top of the Facebook page as well. So just a couple pointers there for being on brand. Talking a bit about other brand experiences, we talked about your employees and that they are an extension of their brand. It's really important that they understand what your company values are. So for example, I'm not sure, you may not be able to read the logo on this picture, but this is a local construction company, and their pickup truck is parked over 2 spaces. And to me, this is very bad branding because you see this and you think, what a jerk, you know, and that reflects on the company. Or I've been passed by a company vehicle speeding down the ring road here in Regina, and again, it's just not that brand experience you want people to experience. So it's important to be wary of those things. Finally, we'll show you just a really quick video. We won't watch the whole thing because you'll get the point right away, but this is a FedEx truck. And we'll move back there. We went forward too far. This FedEx truck. You'll notice anyway, if you saw that out on the street, I doubt you would ever want to send your stuff with FedEx, that you would make a different choice. Maybe the brown vehicle you would work with. But yeah, so it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I want you to remember that as you go forward. And really, I want you to sort of set yourself some really achievable goals for your brand. Maybe you need to get a logo. That's a great place to start. Maybe you need to work on language or those types of things. So I hope that you're able to take something away from today's presentation. As I said, setting those achievable goals. I'd really love to know if there was anything in this presentation. If you want to type into the chat box, is there anything we talked about today that you can take with you now? Something that you can do maybe tomorrow, or that you can do next week or next year for your brand? Is there anything that has helped you out today? We've got some people typing in right now, but or even a question. We've got a few minutes left here at the end of this presentation, but I hope this has given you kind of a good overview of brand and what it is and how you can work to polish your brand and to curate your brand. Any questions out there? We've got a couple of people typing. So essentially, that's sort of the high-level look at brand. Remembering it's about the values that you bring to your business. It's about how you want people to experience that in almost everything you do. And it is, let's see, Google My Business is something I will be doing before I tackle website design. Excellent. There are a lot of great free tools out there for small businesses, and I really encourage you to check them out. Because we don't all have gobs of money to make WestJet commercials, right? We have to work with much smaller budgets, and we need to make our money work for us. So just keep those things in mind. There are ways to be efficient with your money and still be effective. So hopefully this has given you some ideas of where you can go with your brand in the next, right away, or in the next, maybe, you start with a smaller website, and then maybe down the road you're going to launch something a bit more dynamic. I have a client that we basically did a one-page website for them, and it's got their basic information. It's got a place where we can put press releases. It's got a company video on it, but it's just a single page. And now, after they've been in online for about 1.5 years. Now we're going to start working on a more fulsome website that has some blogs and other materials on it. But it's really about using the tools that work for you where you are right now. So if there's no other questions, I'd really like to thank you all for joining me today. You can find me online at blossomcom.ca. If you have any questions and follow-up to today's presentation, please feel free to contact me and follow up. And thank you again to Wes for having me today. It's been great to talk to you. I really wish I could see all of you, but that's the nature of the webinar. So I'll let Jackie take over from here.
Great. Well, I would like to give a huge thank you to you, Jessica, for taking the time to share your insights today. Your webinar was incredibly valuable to bring insight on the meaning of a brand and how a brand extends far beyond the visual representation of just your logo. So that was great, and I think everyone had lots to take away today. I also want to say thank you to everyone who was able to join us on the webinar. If you did not receive the email that I sent out earlier today, just write your name in the chat box there, and then I will email that to you right after, or maybe you can just connect directly with Jessica and she could probably provide it to you as well. Yeah, so our next upcoming webinar is Fraud Prevention, Scams, Shams, and Slim Slams, and that is on July 18th, and our presenter is Sergeant Brian Trainer with Community Education. He is a community education consultant, and he's the owner of Trainer Communications. So please check our WESC emails and visit our website to register. All right, thank you everyone, and have a great afternoon.